here. And so the title of the book, Claremont Boy, was an easy decision to make, because whenever people have said to me, well, where are you from? I always say I'm from Claremont, New Hampshire, although I have not lived here in a very long time. Anybody go to Stevens High School? I graduated in 1957. I'm happy to see they're fixing the place up. I'm sure it needed it. And as Colin just mentioned, Mr. Paquette is in my book. And Miss Manley, my 5th grade teacher, is in my book. And a number of Claremonters whom I knew growing up here are in the book, including Mr. Gelfand, who was a tailor and who had a shop up over the Pleasant Sweet. Everybody who remembers the Pleasant Sweet shop? Pleasant Sweet shop was everybody's local club in a way, and George Emanuel and George Paul, and a third brother, Plato, I think, owned it. And I got an email the other day from Nick Paul, George's son, saying he read the book. And I had an email from a cousin many months ago, and she was writing the family history. And I heard from Charlie Stoughton, once upon a time, the Stringer Funeral Home was McCusker's, and the other funeral home in town was Stoughton's. And the Stoughtons moved away when Charlie and I were 11. And I hadn't heard from him since. But his brother lives in Connecticut. Somebody told him about this book and got some copies and sent one to Charlie. Charlie and I were best friends until he was 11. No, I was 11. And they left and went to Colorado, which, if you think about it, was a daring thing to do in 1950. I never knew why they went, but they went to Colorado. So he has been in touch with me. Email's a pretty good thing when it comes to catching up with people who were part of your past. And he remembered, and he sent me a picture, that when they moved away, a group of us kids gave him a party, and we gave him a camera. Now think to 1950, because he sent me a picture of that was taken with the camera. It's a little brownie box thing, and you look through the top. And there's a picture of the group of kids that said goodbye to Charlie Stoughton. Well, I had never anticipated that writing these little pieces and then putting them into a book would have the kinds of dividends that I've had. Dividends, not just the ones I've mentioned, but quite a few others. People who, like Colin, would say, well, I remember Mr. Paquette. Mr. Paquette was a profound influence. Did you have it?
No, my wife did not.
Did you?
No, because he went, I think, on sabbatical, and Mr. Soul took over.
Well,
Andy Soul.
he was a good teacher.
Yes.
Mr. Paquette, there's a piece in my book about him. Taught senior English at Stevens. It was called college English. It was for kids who planned to go on to college, and his job was to get us ready. And he did a very good job. For some of us, we were able to bypass the introductory writing class in college because Mr. Paquette had prepared us so well. He was a wonderful human being. I think he lived in, oh, I know where he lived. He lived, as did Mr. Labouthier, in Mrs. Borden's house, just on Broad Street, on the other side of Broad Street, down beyond the high school. It's a big brick house with a driveway along the side. Well, my mother's friend Ruby Borden lives there, and she rented out apartments. Mr. Paquette lived there. And when he walked into the classroom, everybody had their eyes glued on him because he told us, I want you to look at me. And it's in the piece I've written about him. And he would say to us, if I walk across the classroom, I want your eyes to follow me. And he taught us important lessons, not just reading good literature, and not even just how to write a sentence. I learned from him that a sentence has a beginning, and a middle, and an end. It has a subject, a verb, an object. He talked about participles and infinitives. I, to this day, will not split an infinitive. I will not say, I'm going to quickly run to the store. I just split an infinitive. People do it. It may even be accepted. Mr. Paquette said we weren't supposed to do it, so I will run to the store quick. Not too quickly run.
Set forth in this book a very stirring, and I have to say, in my readings of this, it always brings a certain tear to my eyes because it resonates.
Well,
I grew up in Claremont.
I didn't want to make you cry, or if I did, I hope you also laughed a little bit.
Well, I certainly did, and that's another thing. Your lecturing and your courtroom. I hate to use the word dramatics, but your courtroom presence and abilities, you extend them out into other creative areas, and I believe also that your education at Stevens points up the fact that over the years, since Stevens High School began, there have been many, many outstanding graduates and people who have accomplished things, and they're still doing it.
Another thought. I think I know what my next book is going to be about.
Okay.
And it's not going to have any Jewish aspect to it. The reason that this book includes maybe a third of the pieces, some reference to my own heritage, is that the book is a partial memoir. And I didn't start out to write a memoir, but when you take all the pieces I wrote over the years and put them together in a book and organize them in a certain way, then it more or less tracks your life. And part of that, an important part, has to do with growing up here in Claremont and being Jewish. I didn't intend to write about Claremont or being Jewish or sports. It just evolved. But I think my next book is going to have a little more of a legal orientation, which is something I know a little about because that's my profession. But we'll see.
Well, that leads into a question that I wanted to ask you, if I can see where I put it.
I've never even been to India.
Well, what I was...
I'm sure, just as the Jews came to Claremont...
Well, here's a question that still pertains somewhat to that. Would you say that perhaps you're becoming a lawyer and entering the legal profession, that your Jewish heritage led you to that? I ask you that because Judaism, from the ancient Hebrews to the present, have always had the law, and recorders of the law, so to speak, the Pharisees and the scribes. For the Bible, the Old Testament, has many chapters.
Alfred, I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No, I don't. I've never really thought much about it. But I suppose if you're a young boy and you're a Catholic, you might become a priest, you might not. You might become a doctor or a business person. I don't believe, to me, that I see any particular connection with the two. I went into the legal profession more or less through a process of elimination. I couldn't think of anything else that I would do where I thought I might be able to earn a living. And once I eliminated medicine and some other possibilities back in that time, and I liked debating and arguing, it just seemed like something I could do. My father, who had the flock company, used to say to me, "Joey, you should be a lawyer." And I would ask him, "Dad, well, why should I be a lawyer?" And my father would always have the same answer. And it was, because if you're a lawyer, anytime you feel like it, you can hang up your jacket, take your fishing pole, and go fishing. Well, my father liked to fish, and so do I. And so do I.
Well, that's great.
Back to the piece. I'm talking about Hanukkah. But in school, of course, it was all Christmas. We sang carols, and if any of the Jewish kids felt uneasy about praising Jesus, we could just mouth the words. Everyone knew we were not celebrating the religious holiday, but no one told us we couldn't enjoy the spirit of the season. Here, a brief digression. I played junior league basketball. Right next door. Is the community center still there? No, actually, I'm wrong. The basketball court, I want to say, was in City Hall. Am I right, Alfred?
I'm not sure about that.
I think so.
Yeah, it's where the council chambers is now. They had
That's right.
boxing ring and.
I played junior league basketball and named my team the Brown Bombers after my hero, heavyweight champ, Joe Louis. I saw the other kids go to the foul line and make the sign of the cross before shooting. It seemed to work for them. So I started doing the same thing. I thought that was how you made foul shots. Eventually, the coach took me aside, a guy named Tony Zotto. He ran the whole youth athletics program in town and ran the community center. Took me aside and explained that particular fact of life to me. So I stopped crossing myself, which really hadn't done me very much good. Anyway, back to Christmas. The name of this piece for the latecomers is My Sister's Room and Memories of Christmas. My sister wanted a Christmas tree, and our indulgent father said she could have one, but not in the living room. That was okay, since she happened to have a fireplace in her bedroom. So we had the tree and the lights, stockings, candy canes, and Santa hidden away upstairs so no one knew. Eventually, my sister changed her mind, and we stopped having a Christmas tree. I remember thinking it was the right thing to do. It's not our holiday, but I missed it for a long time. Being with my parents and my sister, opening our presents, it was special and memorable. Christmas at the Steinfields in Claremont, second floor, my sister's bedroom. I'm glad we had those Christmases together. My father died in 1957. on Christmas Day. That's my memories of Christmas. It's the only piece I've written that's been published and republished, sort of an annual Christmas piece that the Monadnock Ledger publishes. Well, I won't bore you or entertain you, if the case may be. I was going to read a story called My Claremont Optimism and the Bankruptcy of Cities, or My High School Sports and the Lost Basket. But we can leave that for another day.